Parents of Amelia Earhart, I know there are a lot of questions about school starting this next week. We are super excited to be able to see your kids come back. We miss them, and we want to make sure that we can have all those questions answered. So I'm going to go through a bunch of information here. I decided to make a video just because it was so much information. I thought for some people it might be easier to see it on a video. And then if you have questions, you can reach out to me. So let's go ahead and jump into this first one. First, I wanted to review the general information for our phase one that our district selected for our return to school plan. During phase one, we are really focusing on making sure that we're returning to school safely. Some students or some districts in our state and in other states are going only online. And we really felt that it was essential for our students to come back to school, get time for both connection and instruction with our teachers. But where some other districts are going all 5 days a week for all students, we felt that as a district that it was a safer kind of compromise to have students only 50% at a time. So that we could more closely follow the CDC guidelines. So in summary, phase one is 2 days a week in person and 3 days a week online. So what this will look like then is we will have 50% of the students going Mondays and Wednesdays from 8:40 to 1:40. And the other half of the students going Tuesdays and Thursdays from 8:40 to 1:40. Fridays will be online learning for all students every Friday during phase one. As far as the decision to move from phase one to phase two, or then from phase two to phase three, the process is determined by a committee at our district that meets daily. They look over data from things such as the number of positive COVID tests in Provo, the number or the percentage of positive tests each day in Provo. They review that in conjunction or in connection with our health department to make that decision. And then they will give a 10-day advance notice to parents and staff when a decision is made to move from one phase to the other. So the general guidelines for phase one is that students with a last name of A through K will be on Monday and Wednesday, and students with the last name of L through Z will be on Tuesday and Thursday. Now, we have received some requests to switch days for various concerns that families have. We are going to be reviewing those. I'll be reviewing with each teacher tomorrow on Monday, and then we will follow up with those who have sent in those requests to let you know whether we can do it or not. Part of the reason for this delay is we've been waiting to find out exactly how many students will be doing the home study option in each classroom, because we really want to balance those classes. We may also be calling some of you on Monday to ask if you will voluntarily switch days so that we can help balance our classes. Again, our goal is to have equally balanced classes so that we'll have about 10 to 12 kids each day to really allow for that social distancing. If you have children with different last name, we'll typically go by the oldest student's name. However, if you have a child who's in secondary with a different last name than your elementary students, we may not know that, so please let us know so that we can make sure to align your students together. So we will actually have 2 first days of school. Wednesday will be treated like a first day of school, obviously, but Thursday will also be treated exactly like a first day of school, because for those students who are on Tuesday, Thursday, it will be their first day of school. We do want to make it clear that if you send your child on a day they're not supposed to be at school, we will have to call and ask that you come pick them up, because again, our goal is not only to reduce the spread by limiting numbers, but also to help with contact tracing if that ever becomes necessary. And so we really just need kids to be there only on the days that they're assigned. Breakfast will start at 8 o'clock each day. Students will enter in on the east side doors or the northeast doors and go directly into the cafeteria. We will have both the cafeteria and the gym spread out with tables, and so that we can, again, facilitate that social distancing. Students who come before 8:30 and have either finished breakfast before 8:30, or if they came and already had eaten breakfast at home, they'll go out to the playground where we'll have supervision. We are having grade levels play in certain kind of areas to, again, try to just reduce the number of students that come in contact with each other for just to try to reduce any spread of potential COVID. And so again, first and second here, you can see it will be on this playground and grass area, third and fourth on this playground and grass area, fifth and sixth on the blacktop area, and kindergarten. And again, this is only for before school. Our recesses will be different, and I'll talk about those in just a second. On the first day of school, so again, both Wednesday, August 19th and Thursday, August 20th, we ask that students, after they eat breakfast, go to the following spots to meet their teachers and learn where they'll line up each morning. And so again, at 8:30, when the teachers bring their students in, this is where they'll line up moving forward. But on this first day, rather than kind of doing the typical recess, we're going to have them go so that they can kind of meet their teachers, and then we're going to have staff outside guiding students so they know where to go. But here's just a map of where each of the teachers are, and here's their grade levels broken up by that map. The district has hired extra staff to help with daily disinfecting. And one of the reasons for the 8:40 dismissal time is so that they have time to do some deep daily disinfecting of surfaces. Some of the new COVID-19 safety procedures we have are below, and there may be other questions you have, so again, reach out to me if you do. First thing is, every day, parents are asked to do a symptom check for their students. Make sure your child doesn't have a fever, they don't have body aches, cough, or any other symptom that could be associated with with COVID. And we also ask that you send your student with a face mask. Again, this is a state requirement. The governor's asked for all schools and for all public buildings as well. So one of the reasons why there's some flexibility between the in-person and home study options, and why teachers will be providing quality online instruction for every day, is because is just to allow for this flexibility. So again, we're erring on safety. And so if a student has any of these symptoms, keep them home. They can still continue to work with their teachers so they can get that. Some of the state guidelines address a couple of the following information. So one is, if students are, if they get COVID, they will need to stay home for a minimum of 10 days and be 24 hours without any symptoms. If they're exposed to someone directly, and again, the health department defines that as 15 minutes within 6 feet and without a mask, then they would be required to have a 14-day quarantine in that time period. And again, that's why that home study option allows for those students and that flexibility for safety as well. Let's say a student comes to school and exhibits some of those symptoms. So let's say they're having, a lot of coughing, they complain of body aches, or we see they have a fever. The procedure will be that they'll be sent to the health clerk. The health clerk will actually go to our computer lab. So because of every student having a Chromebook, their own device, we won't have or be using our computer lab as we have in the past. It'll be empty. And so that will allow for extra space for students to be spaced out if more than one student has symptoms. The health clerk will do a check. If the student is determined to not be a concern, they'll be sent back to class. If there are concerns with those symptoms based on the protocol that our school nurses have come up with for our health clerks to use, then we will call parents and ask that you come pick up your student. The district will be giving each student one mask, and they'll also be giving them a lanyard to clip their mask on when they're not in use, for example, during breakfast, lunch, or recess. The state has made it clear, and the district guidelines are, that students will wear a mask at all their times within the building. Initially, classes may take kind of some outside breaks in addition to their recess for students to go outside, spread out, take off their mask, get a break as they're learning how to build that mask stamina. But with students only coming twice a week, 8:40 to 1:40, that's another kind of benefit to that, as they can slowly build up that mask stamina for the time when we need to return, or when students will return more days a week. And we want you to know that we'll be patient and loving as we teach these kids, especially our youngers, as we know it will be a struggle and a new thing for them, but we do have that expectation. Drinking fountains will not be in use in the building. However, the district is providing water bottles for each student that are reusable and will be filled up in the classroom sinks. Parents, you will be in charge of making sure those are cleaned. So you will, however often you want to clean them, you'll have your students bring them home, clean them, and then bring them back to school. We will have a lot of time routines built in for hand washing and use of hand sanitizer throughout the day, especially before and after recess and before and after lunch. At recess, only one grade will be outside at recess at a time. This will be done, again, to kind of facilitate that social distancing across the playground. Students will not be required to wear masks at recess, so they'll get a break during recess time. And the playground equipment will be disinfected 1 to 2 times daily to reduce that spread. However, the state and CDC guidelines have said that the spread from outside surfaces is a very low risk, but we still want to make sure we are disinfecting just to be careful. Students will be asked to spread out in lines in school in the hallways. We won't have any parent volunteers during phase 1, just again to minimize risk. For breakfast and lunch, we will have our lunch tables, as I mentioned, spread out across both the cafeteria and the gym. So instead of the 10 to 12 students that sit at a table, we'll have 5 students maximum at each table so they can spread out. For breakfast, the tables will be cleaned after every use in case students use the same spot as another student, although based on numbers and predicting, we don't think that will be a concern, but in case they will be. However, for lunch, only kindergarten and first grade will be using the space. Kindergarten will be using the gym side. First grade will be using the cafeteria side. And so those will be clean and then they'll be disinfected afterwards, but there won't be repeated use, so that won't be a concern. The 2nd through 6th grade will be eating their lunch in the classrooms, and that food will be brought to them. We'll talk in a minute about how that process for ordering lunches will go. Students will need to help with some disinfecting before and after lunch and at other times. The teachers will spray a pink germicidal spray, and the students will need to help with wiping down their desks and chairs. The spray is safe to be used around and by students, and it is also a hospital-grade disinfectant. At the end of the school day, we'll dismiss in 3 groups. We'll have one for each of our buses so that siblings who ride the bus together can meet up, get on the bus. And then the last one will be the students who walk or are picked up. And that's just to kind of stagger that so that we don't have all the students in the hall at the same time. Again, just to reduce any risk with that. If you have any questions about those procedures, please reach out to me. My email is ryanm@provo.edu, or you can call at 801-370-4630. Okay, so again, masks are required for all students as per the governor's order. There is some attachments that we'll have that will define how, what is a mask. But basically, the mask has to have a covering over the nose and the mouth, and it has to attach behind the head or the ears. Face shields will not be allowed for students. They'll only be allowed for teachers during specific instructional times, such as when a teacher is teaching like a speech pathology, so that students need to see their mouth, or phonemic awareness for lower grades. And then at other times, all teachers and staff will have to wear a typical face mask. There is a form attached to this if there are concerns of, for instance, why you feel like your child, due to some health needs, would need to wear a face shield. And if those concerns if those are concerns that you have, please fill out that form and come and talk to me. If a student refuses to wear a mask, we'll work with parents and we'll work with our staff to help them to be successful. However, if there's a continual refusal, or if parents are telling their student that they don't want them to wear a mask, then as per district guidelines, we will ask that student to do online schooling as their option during this phase. There are some documents for receiving breakfasts and lunches on days both when students are in school and when they're not in school. All students that have a teacher at Amelia Earhart, whether home study or in person, have access to daily breakfast and lunch. That process can be done by a QR code that is to be used to make those orders. Those orders can be done for a week at a time, is my understanding. And I'll show you that documentation. Again, there will be an attachment that explains that. So also here is the link to free and reduced lunch. If you have been on it or would like to be on it again this year or both, you do need to apply each year. So please go to that link and apply for that. So Canvas is the learning platform that all students will use to log in. And there is another document that shows how students and parents can log into Canvas daily to see what assignments they have. Teachers will be teaching their students in detail how to use that document. And so hopefully that will answer a lot of those questions, or excuse me, how to use that online learning tool. So hopefully that will answer a lot of those questions to help the students be prepared. But if you have questions, you can reach out to me or you can reach out to your teacher and they'll help you with that. All students will be assigned a Chromebook. Before a Chromebook can be assigned to your student, there needs to be 3 things done. 1, you have to update your demographic information on PowerSchool. Here's a link to do that. You can do that anytime. And 2, you need to sign a user agreement from the district and an agreement for a Google account for your child. I am going to send links to this email. However, you will also be sent those, your students will be sent those on the first day of school. And as soon as we get those back, we can start sending the Chromebooks home. Please make sure that that you reinforce what the teachers will teach them as far as transporting them safely. You'll keep the cord at home, so you need to make sure that you charge them every day, every night. And then we just need to get in the habit. 2 big new habits this year are, does my student have a mask? Or teaching them to ask themselves if they have a mask, and then teaching them to ask themselves, do they have their computer, so that we make sure that they remember that. There will be a lot of new things, but we are going to work through this together, and it is going to be an amazing year. Students are going to learn, a little bit of challenge and adversity that we're going through right now can really help build some resilient students, and we are excited to be able to help them on this journey as they continue to make academic and social emotional growth in each of these areas. Again, please reach out to me if you have any questions, and we're excited to see your kids this week. Thanks.